Welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits, coming to you from the Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California.
And it,
whoop, whoop.
And it was such a beautiful sunny day.
They're sick of us saying that, but it's true. Hey everyone, this is Liza, and this is I have one more week here before I turn into a pumpkin. I'll get to that later, but really big day in the garage today.
Yeah, what happened? I always think I hear it right at the end.
Lots of tires.
Oh, I'll get into it. Let's get to who is here with me, because there's many people who aren't. Those a-holes.
They're with us in spirit.
Flat levers.
Of course, I can always rely on Neal.
Hey there, moto people. Such enthusiasm. Should I do it? It's all 246 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then sitting near the open window.
I drive slow on the motorcycle.
He's still going. There he goes. It's Scottie.
Hello.
Hello.
So good to be back in the studio.
Good to have you here. No Emma, no John, no Jim. Everyone is out in the world doing cool, fun things. But that's okay. We got plenty of misfits. Bagel's going to be joining us in a second. But I thought this would kind of set off. I'm going to do things in different orders.
Uh-oh.
Yes, we're all over the place because we have a really cool guest calling in tonight.
But what did happen in the garage?
Yeah, let me talk about what happened today. Charlie was the first one to arrive. And then shortly thereafter, one after another of nice young people who needed help with their bikes. And they needed tire changing. The Rabaconda was going all day.
Great.
Like all day.
That's awesome.
I filled my quota of sport bikes.
You had a quota?
Yeah. We filled the quota. Actually, I told Todd, don't let any more sport bikes here. There's already like 8.
Oh.
Way too many. We had 2 matching 1996 DR350s in the purple and gold.
Neither of those are sport bikes.
I know. We allowed them. That came from 2 completely different places. Like one dude was riding up from San Francisco, or from LA on that. And they were both like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. You know?
Oh.
It was pretty cute. And yeah, just so much. But I think, not to be outdone, so there's a new kid who's been coming around who was here with his brand new to him sport bike.
Oh, yes.
We're not going to talk about that yet.
Oh.
Because that was the second bike he brought today. The first bike he brought was, I forget what it is. Is it a Ninja? It might be a Ninja 300 that he has painted champagne pink.
Perfect. It's the best color for a Ninja 300.
I tell him every time, I'm never going to stop ribbing you on this. It's just, but he had a new caliper, and one of the caliper pins was stuck.
Oh.
And so we're having to go through all the things, stripped out all the Allens. Then we're moving to Torx and hammering them in, stripping those out. Then we finally had to like drill it out, and we finally got it out. But that was hours, because you want to go up in increments and not go straight in. Like we had the torch on it. We were doing all the things.
Mm-hmm.
He got a lesson and all the things.
Old bike problems.
Yeah. And finally got it off, and he put the new caliper on. Great. But that was like hours. Hours. Meanwhile, Charlie was helping tire changing people. So many tires today.
Tires can be a big problem, but Charlie's really good at them.
Yes, but he had surgery and is on crutches. And
but not on his arms.
One of the people trying to change their tires on the Rabaconda was floating in the air. They did not have enough physical weight to leverage it down. So Charlie was having to put tires on rims and crank the thing because he had enough weight and muscle to do it.
Yeah.
That back tire for his Ducati was a really stiff tire and old, and it was just not yielding, and they ended up just forgetting the Rabaconda and just spooning it off ultimately. They gave up.
We had all the things out. We had the Rabaconda, we had the Baja No Pinch, we had all the things. And then Doug was helping Sophia, who was changing out all the damages from her rides.
Oh, yeah. She fell over a few times.
Yeah, and cracked the side cover. And I was running around between, and Todd were like between frozen bolts and just bits and pieces and things. And it was a hectic day. But, so he got that caliper changed and he came back on. He's so excited. He was telling everyone what a deal he got on this 2006 CBR 600 RR Pirate Edition.
Oh,
he only paid $2,200. Like these are worth like $3,500, you know?
Are they?
And then he went and got it and he showed up, and we're like, oh no. I have to say. Do I take glee and popping bubbles, or am I just indifferent now? I don't know. I just go right in. Let's just say I just go right in. I won't say I take glee in it, but I just go right into, okay, what we have here is a race bike. No front, no rear lights, no working speedometer, no plastic fairing pieces at all.
No. That was the one that I just saw, right?
Yeah.
And the seat was custom.
No coolant cap on the just like one after another of things. But he's like, oh no, man, the guy was really cool. And look, it's got a new radiator and it's got this and it's got that. And we're like, dude, you have no lights. No, I ordered I got new plastics.
He said it's registered, though.
It's registered. But it's like, oh, yeah, you're going to learn that lesson when you bought the $150 plastics.
With all the holes that are a little bit off.
Yeah. Exactly. And the headlight has no bulbs in it. And
one of them was on the ground.
No, I gave him some bulbs. But it's a weird thing on that bike where it's an H4, where, how do I explain? I think an H7 fits into the headlight recess, but it's an H4 connector.
Yes.
And you have to buy an adapter to make the two. I don't know. It was like, didn't work. Anyway.
Why doesn't he just get H4 bulbs?
Because they don't fit into the headlight housing.
Oh, I got it.
And then the headlight housing is zip tied on, and it's missing the brackets that hold it, affix it. He's like, no, I think the fairing supports it. I'm like, nope.
The bracket that supports the headlights is also supposed to support the fairing, probably.
No, but he's new. He doesn't know. So we're just having to go through and point out one after the other. And then his front brake line, which is to that bike, because it has a splitter in the middle and then splits over to both
for dual front rotors.
Calipers. Mm-hmm. One side, the plastic lining was gone, and you could see the fabric
of the braid
inside. And we're like, nope, you need to get this. And I think the person who sold it to him was like, oh yeah, I did all this stuff and it's all ready. It's like so good. All you have to do, it's real easy. Just, buy some lights and buy some plastics, and
all it needs is a carb clean.
And it's like, oh,
it's fuel injected.
Yeah, but the line that I see so frequently on listings is all it needs is a carb clean.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, it really pisses me off that these people are out there who take advantage of these people who don't know and think they're getting something really cool and amazing and a great deal. And I'm like, you bought someone else's problem. And like when we were testing out the headlight sockets, the low beam worked, the high beam didn't work at all. He's not even tested any of the brake light switches because there's no wiring for it. And there was a random bulb hanging down the side behind the pillion seat that we figured out was the license plate bulb, but that has been relocated. That attaches now to the swing arm, so it's tucked way in underneath, so It has no light.
Yeah.
And you see these people who think, oh yeah, they got this really amazing deal, and we're like, yeah. We're going through. Oh, and also the key to the rear seat didn't work, and you could still see the blue film on the ignition on the front.
Oh.
So
it probably got stolen.
Exactly. So is this a stolen bike? Well, he says it's registered.
I think this is a great topic for another show. We can talk about these kinds of mistakes that we've all made.
Did he buy a title on a stolen bike? I don't know. But we helped him figure out. He's like, I said, you need to figure out how to get the rear pillion off. He goes, oh, no, it's not a problem. You can't put your new plastics on. No, but I don't want to have a pillion seat, so I'm just going to lay him over. I'm like, the new plastics have a hole for it, but you have to remove the seat to drop it down in. Well, I'll probably just cut around it. I'm like, nope. Go get a hammer and a screwdriver and a flashlight. And we did. We managed to pop it, pull the key lock out so he can stick his finger. I mean, I'm trying to help him do these things, solve these problems one at a time, but I feel bad for him.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. It sucks to have to learn that lesson in that way.
But we all do. And I told him, like, you're learning the lesson. We've all learned it. And everyone is nodding their heads like, yeah, we've been there.
Yeah. And I think that would be probably really fascinating to get into when we have a bigger crowd and talk about some of these mistakes that we've made. It's a fortunate thing that he comes around here, though, and he can get heckled by us.
That's right.
And we had so much gear coming and going today. Even it was so nice. A woman came by, and she had a pretty decent helmet, clean, and a jacket and gloves. She goes, yeah, you gave this to me 5 years ago, and you said when I'd not use it anymore, bring it back. And she did. And the helmet's now 10 years old or 12 years old, but it still looks clean and very nice. Another person picked that same helmet up and took it away today.
Amazing.
Because, unfortunately, he said he was in a little accident. Wasn't a big deal, but somebody called the 911 and they came out and they insisted on cutting the strap on his brand new helmet.
Oh, for gosh sake.
And I'm like,
weird
yeah, sorry, dude, you got to throw it away. He goes, oh, but it's brand new. I'm like,
it's not anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of lessons being learned. I want to share a quick story about an old friend named Michael Clunan. We called him Clunan. And he used to come to the garage a long time ago when John Dalton was new. John Dalton lived in a house with a bunch of different guys in there. And it's funny, going back to the beginning of Recycle Garage, when I had this idea, I put out the word. I said, hey, I want to start a community garage. I just threw it out to the world. And somebody told this guy who worked at a pizza place that who said that he has a bike that the engine just blew, but he doesn't have a garage to work on it. They're like, oh, well, there's this lady who wants to share her garage. His name was Jeremy. I called him Pizza Boy. And he was the first person, this is before Doug, first person who came to my garage, and I gave him space in there and let him use the tools. And he rebuilt his engine in there. And that was the beginning. And he started telling his roommates. Clunan was one, and John Dalton was one, and there was a bunch of guys who've all kind of come through the garage in different phases. And Clunan, it's always kind of stayed in touch. He's moved away to Montana and became a mountain man, grew a big beard. But he would always send in emails and be like, huzzah, motherfuckers! Right? And unfortunately, he died this week.
Oh.
And John Dalton has been gathering, what happened. The reason I want to share the story is because I think this is a lesson that everyone can learn. I'll first start by saying we're not sure what happened, other than the fact what his friends and family have shared. It's 2 weeks ago, he had a bike accident.
Motorcycle?
We don't know if it was motorcycle or bike. He rode scooters. He rode all sorts of things. Who knows? But he's been in pain.
Okay.
And didn't go to the doctor. And was found, he went to bed. He was out with a bunch of buddies the other night, went home, went to bed, and was found dead, I think, lying on the couch. So, they said they're not going to do an autopsy because it's not suspicious. They don't think it's murder or anything, right? So they don't do an autopsy. Mm-hmm. What everyone is trying to, what they've kind of nailed it down to is he most likely had some sort of injury. I don't know if it was internal or head, but he's been in pain for 2 weeks. So either he's had bleeding or It's also possible he was self-medicating for the pain and
Mhm.
overdosed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at. The reason I'm sharing this is for everybody out there. I don't care if you slip and fall in the tub, have a bike accident, a motorcycle accident, whatever. If you have any pain or had lost consciousness or anything, please seek medical attention.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It can be really serious. And at the same time, it can be so frustrating as a patient, speaking from personal experience, to go in and be like, hey, I hit my head. I think I lost consciousness. And they'll kind of just look at you for 8 to 12 hours and then send you home because there's nothing they can do. So it's hard to figure out where do you draw that, hey, I hit my head and I think I might have lost consciousness. And my experience of going and seeking help for this has been sort of unfulfilling in the past. And then sort of retain that optimism that, hey, if I hit my head and think I may have lost consciousness, I'm optimistic enough to think they may both need to do something this time and that they will be able to. But yeah, it can be super serious and it can be sneaky.
Those are, anytime I would think that they should do sometime, at least an X-ray of your skull or CT scan to see what's going on. If you have a subdural hematoma, which is very common when you have a concussion, and if those swell up, those could be life-threatening in a big hurry. That said, if it was like a week or two after, was there any information about where he was having pain?
No.
Okay, so at this point, who knows? He could have had an aortic
dissection or bleeding liver or
exactly what happened is kind of beside the point,
right.
because your point still stands.
He was in pain and ignored it.
Yeah.
Go get that stuff checked out.
And that's it. Unfortunately, a lot of people are really sad that he's gone. So raise a toast to Clunan.
Clunan.
What a wacky dude.
Huzzah.
Huzzah, motherfucker. Exactly. I've got some more news.
Yes.
Do you like what I'm wearing?
That's a very attractive shirt.
This is the new shirts.
Looks good.
They're in.
The colors are great.
They shipped.
Yeah.
To all of our Patreon subscribers who, if you got the message that told you to go and order your shirt, they've shipped. If you didn't get the message, like Tad, he's like, oh, I never got the message. And I showed him, here's all the messages. Oh, yeah, I get a lot of emails. I don't know if I caught it. Go check your emails. If you think you're getting a shirt and you don't, message me. But you have 1 week left before I turn into a pumpkin and leave. But if you'd like to order one, go to motorcyclesandmisfits.com, click on store, shop, something like that, and you can order one.
Yeah.
Can you describe what this is? What is it?
It's a spaghetti strap.
No.
No, it's a normal, nice quality T-shirt with a nice big print on the front.
Describe the image.
The image is of two people riding a motorcycle through the sky. I can't do better than that.
One of them is a little girl on the back grinning.
Oh yeah, she looks stoked. The person in front looks intense, and it's an old-timey motorcycle of, I don't know what it is.
I think it's a matchless.
There you go.
This was a vintage black and white photo that I found and turned it into this shirt because I thought it was so rad. I assume I've created a whole story.
Oh, tell us the story.
Well, he's the big brother and he's taking his little sister for a ride. What was in the original image was a line of people standing behind them watching as they launched into the air on a jump. And she's got these spectacles and is just looking like, yo!
Yeah. A bespectacled kid on the back of her big brother's motorcycle taking a sick jump over the mountains, it looks like.
Yeah. So get your T-shirts ordered. Let's go ahead and get an update. Oh, Wait, I have news, and then we're going to get to Downeyville.
Uh-oh. Downeyville.
I have news. So, a week from tomorrow, I'm leaving to go to Isle of Man.
Where?
Isle of Man. And did I tell you all something else that's happening? I might have. I don't know. I'm bragging. I'm bragging now.
All right, lay it on us.
So a few weeks back, I got contacted through WRWR about the use of our logo for a film that's being filmed. So they are doing 2 films at the Isle of Man while I am there. One of them, I think they're both connected. I think they're both being produced by Brad Pitt.
Okay.
The first one is a documentary film about the TT.
Neat.
So they're going to be there filming. The second one is a fictional Hollywood movie that takes place at the TT that stars Channing Tatum.
Okay.
As a racer. And there's a female lead who's also a racer.
Oh.
And they needed patches for her race suit.
Oh.
So we gave them our We're logo.
Brilliant.
To use as one of her patches.
Hey, that's fun.
So, they're going to be filming stuff while we're there. So, going to do my best to try and get in the background.
Yeah.
There you go.
You got to get in enough background shots and not do goofy enough shit that it gets cut.
Exactly. Ooh, joining us, it's Bagel.
Hey, Bagel.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Bagel.
I can't see you. Can you see me, Bagel?
I can see you. Hello.
So, Scottie, give us an update. You took a whole crew of people.
Yeah.
Including poor Sophia.
Lovely, talented, skilled Sophia.
To Downeyville.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, man. Okay, so there's a lot going on here in California. And
that's the opener?
That's the opener.
There's a lot going
on in California. We got a huge variety of terrain. And from the deserts in the south where Jim hosts the Desert Hare to areas like Hollister and the environs around Santa Cruz. But one of my favorite areas is this region of California that's often referred to as the Lost Sierra. So if you're looking, you got your laptop in front of you, check out the Lost Sierra. The big sort of defining feature of the Lost Sierra is...
Sierra, as in single, not plural. Because we have the Sierras.
Yeah, they call it the Lost Sierra.
So there was another that was lost?
Well, the other Sierra has been found.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sierra is plural.
This region
Fight me.
is often referred to as the Lost Sierra.
Okay.
And it's really sort of defined by a lot of little villages, little tiny towns, connected by sort of minor highways.
Okay.
One of the major highways that goes through there is the 49.
Oh, yeah.
If you've heard of the
49er rally.
The 49er rally. There's a sports team called that. There's all kinds of things. Because that was there, it's referred to as this gold country, this gold sort of extraction era, where the region was first, colonized and really populated heavily by a lot of these miners. And then after that, a lot of these miners, then the gold dried up, the silver dried up, and sort of the remaining industry was logging. So logging became really popular, another really extractive industry, they call it. And then that kind of dried up, and a lot of these towns fell in some pretty hard times. It became real challenging place to live. And then in one little town, a couple of sort of mountain bicycle nerds that also ride dirt bikes and also ride quads had this idea to build a trail network connecting a lot of these little villages, these little towns that have kind of fallen on hard times.
Kind of like a BDR kind of thing?
Sort of. More like a regional network than a point-to-point-to-point thing.
Okay.
And they did this by raising money through, traditional fundraising, emails, potluck dinners, all that kind of stuff. But a big chunk of their fundraising came through grants from the Department of Transportation and our California Green and Red Sticker money.
Yeah. Right.
Which meant that the trails had to be built to a minimum standard designed for kind of four-wheelers, quads and things.
Yeah, we got to let them in.
Well, that's, the motorized vehicles, and that's
Yeah.
the standard, right? But at their heart, these people are mountain bike nerds, and they're dirt bike folk. They're mountain people. So they built to the minimum size of that standard, and there's so much epic trail that is really challenging in a lot of cases, but all connected with these old logging roads and old fire roads and
Cool.
fire lookouts and mining camps and all kinds of stuff. It's just spread throughout.
So these are maintained roads. We're not talking single track?
There's a lot of very well maintained, very challenging single track.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of double track and a lot of badly maintained roads and well maintained roads. And it's just absolutely everything except for like sand dunes and wide open desert.
But this is mountains, not the desert.
That's true. Yeah. So the town of Dennyville is down around, I think, 2,700 feet. And the sort of famous fire lookout right near there, it's called the Sierra Buttes Fire Lookout. That's up at about 9,000 feet. So it's real vertical. It's real vertical. And it's absolutely gorgeous. So I arranged, I've been riding motorcycles and mountain bikes there for, I first fell in love with it through mountain bikes and started riding motorcycles there. And I've been wanting to take a bunch of folks and sort of share some of the stuff that's up there. And we got it together and rented out. We sort of boondoggle backdoored our way into a group camp by just reserving every campsite in this little tiny campground. So we had our own kind of semi-private campground. There were a couple other folks there, but they were cool. And spent 3 nights, a Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, and 4 days of riding. And had a great time jumping in the river and riding dirt bikes. And there were a few adventures and misadventures. There's about a dozen of us or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get into that at some point.
So were there any crashes?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of pretty dramatic crashes. I fell off the side of a pretty narrow single track down a steep hill, and it took 4 of us to get the bike back up onto the trail with straps and much grunting.
High side or low side?
I fell, well...
Or a tip over?
Yeah, sort of backside.
Oh, okay.
If that's a thing. It kind of just was going over a little rock, and the back wheel
kind of went out from under you.
The back wheel lost traction. There's a whole other story about that, but and then it just kind of slid off the hill sideways.
Yeah.
There was another crash. I stayed on the trail that time. About a quarter mile later, Hector fell down the side of the hill, but his bike stayed on the hill.
Well, that's a win.
Well, no, because he managed to dislocate his right middle. The last little bit of his right middle finger. He took it was a pretty it was one of those really scary falls. And I was looking back at him and watched him kind of just tumble, and he was up on his feet, and then he was on his head, and managed to put a rock dent scratch right on the top of his helmet.
Whoa.
Wow.
So he bruised some ribs. But the gear basically worked.
I have a question.
Yeah, so we had some early crashes. A Bill ran into the fire pit. A bear box came out and attacked him one time. There was
A what?
the bear boxes that you put your food in when you're camping.
Yeah.
There was a crash
right out in front of him.
Right out in front of him. Sophia fell over about a dozen times.
I wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
Because normally on these trips, you get a lot of people who can hold their own.
Mm-hmm.
And Sophia's a newer rider, is new to dirt. And she came, and I was told that everyone took care of her very well. How did that work out, having a newer rider? Did you all have to get her through things?
Yeah, a little bit. But that's kind of how it goes with all these trips, where you have a dozen or so people with all different types of motorcycles, all different, personal backgrounds, ages, dirt riding experiences, and boldnesses. And Sophia brought the boldness for sure.
Her bike looked like it.
Yeah.
She had fun and broke some.
Turn signals on both sides are dangling.
Yeah, especially the rear ones. Did you?
Yeah.
They're dangling under the license plate like truck nuts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So we all helped each other out. We all got stuck. We all needed assistance. I certainly did. Many of us did. motorcycling is a team endeavor in a lot of cases, and it certainly was for us. But yeah, it's so lovely up there. So many fun things to do. There's just hundreds and thousands of miles of fire roads if you want to ride fire roads, and some of those fire roads are more challenging than others, and there's a ton of single track if that's your thing, and everything else.
So for people who are interested in going to check this place out, can you give them some 411 on where to go, how to do, what to do, how it works?
Yeah, so the town we based ourselves out of is called Downieville, Downieville. It's right at the corner of the Downey River and the Yuba River, and there's a ton of accommodations in town there. Really rad little Airbnb spots, no major hotels, lots of campgrounds right on the river that you can go for a ride, and when you come back and you're all dusty and exhausted, you sit in the ice cold.
Oh yeah, there's a
river.
great swimming hole on the Yuba. I've been there a couple of times.
Man, there's hundreds and hundreds of great swimming holes on the Yuba, and really that whole area is fabulous. If you want to get really more information, look up Sierra Butte's Trail Stewardship, and they have some excellent maps and resources for how to explore the Lost Sierra.
Yeah, so generally for orientation purposes, it's off of Highway 80. You take 49 north.
That's one way to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you go through Nevada City and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went up through Yuba City and Marysville and in that way. But yeah, this is kind of in that corner of the Sierra, north of 80.
So it's near Plumas National Forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are you going next?
I'm going to ride around California a little bit.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Like dirt riding, or
no, pavement.
Are you gonna come on my ride?
When's your ride? Where are you going?
All over?
No, I'm not going to go on your big
Why not?
picture drawing ride. I have a job and a family.
No, not the whole thing. You can sign up to do one day.
Oh, where do I sign up?
Worldrecordride.com.
Worldrecordride.com. Okay, all spelled in the traditional way.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. I'm lucky I got that. Well, cool. Thank you for taking care of Sophia. I was a little worried when she was like, I think I want to go on this trip. I'm like, ooh. But here's the thing I always say about Scottie. She'll get you in the shit and then she'll get you out.
I was in the shit many times myself. and it's not.
But there will be shit.
And not everybody had a dramatic fall or crash, but all of us had a great time and helped each other out. And
all got through the shit.
Yeah, all got through.
Exactly.
Well, it was really getting through the snow that was the harder part. But yeah, it was great.
Snow is shit too, to be fair.
Cool. Because we have a special guest joining us now. Michael, and I hope I get this right again. Uhlarik? Uhlarik. God, I need to practice that. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Michael.
Hi, I'm great. Sorry for being tardy. For those of you who don't know, this is a very important weekend in Canada. Up here, it's known as the May 2-4 weekend, even though it's not the 24th of May. It's also known as Queen Victoria's birthday, even though it isn't. But tomorrow is a day in which Canada has a national holiday, and nominally to honor Queen Victoria. Really, it just means summer is here and winter is gone.
Yay!
And you get to go to the cottage and bust out the barbecue and just shake off the crappy weather for another 6 months.
Well, happy May 2-4 weekend. Is 2-4 not also a term referring to a case of beers?
It is.
Okay.
When I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, it literally referred to a flat of 24 stubbies. The old short, British Empire beer bottles, which are sadly all gone. Most people, the young folk don't drink proper, so that 2-4s aren't very common anymore.
But this isn't that 2-4. This is the Victoria Day.
Can all Canadians talk about beer?
The two coincide. Okay, let me just say, today, normally, Sunday night, people be kind of winding down because they got to go to work tomorrow. There will be fireworks tonight. and barbecues, and people are going to stay up late and they're going to hang out and party and drink. And so today and tomorrow. So the two coexist.
Well, happy summertime.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do things. I said we're going to do things a little different. We're going to read 2 emails real quick. Bagel, you have one from David Gray that was sent to you, if you can find that. And I'm going to read one from Kevin Holm. And Michael, you'll find out why we're reading those. This one from Kevin, he says, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to podcast 673. I listened all the way through without skipping ahead. The interview with Michael Uhlarik was excellent. I hope he comes back to continue the discussion, especially to discuss how China will impact the business in the future. If he visits the Recycle Garage for the discussion, I may have to show up in person and hear it live. Also loved hearing the stories about the Misfits ADV rally in Holster and the food tour. Sounded like so much fun. Cheers from Kevin. Hey, thanks, Kevin. Well, yeah, he's here again to talk about it. Let's get the other email. You got that, Bagel?
I do not, Liza. It's not in my email.
That's all right. I will read it. He says, I really enjoyed your podcast on the motorcycle industry. I'm new to the podcast, but am now listening weekly. Thanks for the great discussions. I've been riding for 45 years and have seen motorcycle dealers change from having a personal investment in every customer to being just another corporate enterprise. I can only think of a couple non-corporate dealers in my city. We desperately need the personal connection back. I think a model is needed where you have direct order with dealership delivery is implemented. Customers order bikes equipped as they need with options they select. All pricing out the door is transparent and without the scam fees. A minimum of one of each model stocked at the dealership for test rides. Dealers focus on customer service with test rides, setup specific to the rider, accessory installation, service, post-purchase needs, and to ensure consumable parts are available in store. The manufacturer, importer, distributors will focus on maintaining an adequate supply of bikes based on demand and ensuring every part is available to dealers and retail suppliers in 2 to 3 days or less. Removing the financial burden of stocking multiples of every bike would encourage an influx of new small enthusiast dealers, allowing the dealers to focus on customer service delivery and post-sales care would develop relationships with customers. Maintaining dealer involvement with delivery builds a relationship with both the customers and the distributor. Direct order aids in right-sizing inventory and limits risk of undesirable old model years languishing in dealers. These are my thoughts. Hope it adds to the next discussion. Did you get all that, Michael? Because now we can build off of that. What do you think of all those ideas?
A lot of ideas in there.
Yeah. I mean, starting with the second email, the largely around the dealer question.
Yeah.
So people are looking for a magic bullet.
Yes.
It's complicated. When we had more and frequent small mom and pop style dealers, then that relationship, the first part of his email was all about like having this personal relationship and adjusting inventory to the locale. When I travel around the world, when you basically leave Canada and the United States, this is the norm. So even in Europe and Japan, which are very wealthy, first world situations, you have the big dealers, 100%. You got the big, giant, glossy, single brand dealers. But then you've still got mostly mom and pops. And what'll happen is they just happen to know that in my village, in my small town, I sell a lot of these. And I don't know if I used this example in my last appearance here, but when I lived in Spain, like Aprilia was still an independent company. They hadn't been absorbed by Piaggio yet. And they made this really awful, that's a horrible judgment, really ugly, very cheap, very plain scooter called, the name just escaped me. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The Scarabeo?
Sonic.
Oh, okay.
The Aprilia Sonic. It was so bad. The Scarabeo was cool. It like maybe not to people here, but at the time, the Scottie was a really innovative scooter because it had what they called big wheels. So instead of Vespa 13s or 11s, it had 15s and eventually 16-inch wheels, which means that like a Super Cub, it was a modern Super Cub.
Yeah.
It was easy to get on. It had the step through pleasantries of a scooter, but it had the ride quality of a small motorcycle. It absorbed bumps better. It looked proportionately better in my view, and I wasn't alone. They sold millions and millions of Scarabeos. Like Scarabeo built Aprilia. But the Sonic was hideous. And it was just built to a price. It was just like, we need a cheap small wheel moped. And it didn't sell well anywhere except in Andalusia, in the south of Spain, basically across the water from North Africa. And we couldn't figure out why. And I was working on as an Aprilia contractor on product planning. And so I go down there. I was living in Spain at the time. So I get on a high-speed train. I shoot down at Andalusia, and I'm interviewing dealers. And they're all like, we can't get enough stock. We get a Sonic or 3 in the store, and they're gone within hours. How is this possible? Like, it's not very competitive. There was a dealer, a specific dealer, and I'm out of propriety, I'm not going to name them, but in one city that was just like the celebrity mom and pop bike shop, and had been for 40 years. They used to sell Montesa and Gas when they were still independent Spanish brands, and then started bringing in Honda early on, and then he took on the Aprilia franchise. That man and his family, it was a family business, you know, the wife, the kids, the uncle, the aunts, like there was like an extended family working this shop. The shop that, you know, maybe 3,000 square feet, not big. But he and that shop and that family were trusted. And so they were like, well, that part of Spain was historically less affluent. And so people came in looking for a bargain. And he started steering them towards this Sonic. And what happened was, do that for 5 years. And then the next geographical row of dealers around, Aprilia dealers within a 20 kilometer, 50, 100 kilometer radius, started propagating this localized mythology. Well, the Sonic's great because this shop sells them. They endorse this. And so to go back to your reader's question, the person, we cannot underestimate the value of a really good local dealer. That they build that deep network of trust within a community, that the community knows that when they give them a deal, it's fair. The dealer's got to make money. They got to cover their overhead. They want to, it's a business, but it's reasonable, and that the service rates are reasonable, and that the service shop isn't going to charge for stuff they don't need. And so all the things that your email, your fan mentioned in the email, like I would say that most Japanese multi-dealers, or at least that I've dealt with, are really good at this. Like I just recently sold my XS 750, a lovely late 70s Yamaha. I could get parts over the counter from my local Yamaha shop, and I do not live in a big city. They were, guy goes in the back, comes back 10 minutes later, goes, and the cloud of dust.
Yeah, they have their inventory.
But it had the box, had that beautiful late 70s graphic, old Yamaha graphics. But, he had oil filters. He had a gasket kit. He had a petcock kit for a 1979 Yamaha.
Well,
but he's been carrying that inventory on his inventory for...
And he's lost money.
40 years.
40, 50 years,
he's lost
right?
money. But, here's something I don't think a lot of people understand. When you go into a dealership to buy a bike, who actually owns those bikes in there?
The bank.
The dealerships don't.
The big dealerships now, the way the floor plan floor plan works is, so you sign up to be a big mainline dealer for Honda or BRP or Polaris or whomever. Mm-hmm. And they work with a financial provider, and it's usually a big like GE Capital type entity. And you get assigned an account manager, and they go, all right, we're gonna write you up for the 2026 model year, and I see here that the floor plan requires exactly this many of this model and this many of this model and this many, and the dealer doesn't get a lot of input. They're given their minimums. If you're a Triumph or you're a Ducati, then they kind of shove it down your throat. They go like, you're carrying these machines, and as many extras as you would like, and it's all financed through their capital wing. So if you're Harley Davidson dealer, it's through HDFS, Harley Davidson Financial Services,
which means they're paying
debt.
They're accruing debt, and the longer it
Correct.
sits there, that's cutting into their potential profit.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the typical interest rates on flooring?
They're usually a sliding scale, and it depends on the dealer and the brand, and there's a lot of variables, but usually the first 30, 90, 60, 90 days are free. Depends on who it is. And then there's a low interest rate, and then it gets sort of peaks, and then it drops off again. Because it's not in the interests of the manufacturer, certainly, to wreck their dealers. So they lean heavily on their, think of it this way. And this is why Harley Davidson set up HDFS decades ago, why General Motors created GMAC. Like an in-house bank, essentially. And the reason is they could then control the interest rates. That company, Harley Davidson Inc., goes to Wall Street and says, I want rotating, float, a certain amount of, hundreds of millions or $1 billion of float. They will fix their rates with their lenders. Now Harley can say, all right, we know how much we need to keep this, working. They do their complex calculation, how many people will default, how many people will go high risk, how many people low risk, everything else. And then they're able to set these really attractive terms. And that's why you get, let's again remember, Suzuki, Honda, BMW, these are car manufacturers with a motorcycle side gig.
Right.
Suzuki, you don't see it in Canada and the United States, but Suzuki is a top 10 global automobile giant.
Yeah.
Giant.
Especially
they are the number one car brand in the second largest car market in the world, which is India.
Yes.
So when these guys go to Mitsubishi Bank and say, I want really, really good financial terms, they're going to get them. And what that means for you at the dealership, or whether you're the dealer or the consumer, is that they can offer crazy financing, like 0.9% or whatever, because the mothership can eat that kind of financing. It also means that they can offer financing to people who probably shouldn't be approved for loans.
Right. They're a little looser than typical.
Yeah.
So they're collecting money on the flooring, but also when they finance motorcycles, they're collecting. That's a profit center for them as well, right? Both things.
HDFS is the most profitable part of the Harley Davidson organization.
Does that say more about HDFS or the rest of Harley?
Was?
Yeah. This is important. So just over a week ago.
Bagel.
Yeah. Thank you. But you're right. For decades, HDFS, like GMA, for decades, General Motors lost money making vehicles. They made their money selling loans on vehicles. And that's crazy because the rest of the automotive world doesn't work that way. But that was their model. And they all did it at one point, and then they got out of that. GM stuck with GMAC. HDFS did the same thing, or Harley did the same with HDFS. And last quarter, the first quarter of 2026, they recorded a 84% decline in revenue, just Harley Davidson Financial Services.
Ouch.
What does that tell you? It tells you that people are walking into Harley dealers and they're either buying with cash or they're getting their credit from somewhere else, their personal lender or whatever. And this is reflected also in that number and be a subject for another visit, but Harley sales are bad.
Yeah.
They're not great.
Could it also indicate a large number of defaults as well?
They publish their default rate. It's high.
Yeah.
It's just around 4%. Let me put that context. During the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, which was the highest default rate in U.S. auto history, was just over 3.5%. So when the repo rate is 3 or 4, that's bad.
Yeah.
Harley's repo rates are very high because a significant number of their customers are people who really aspire to that product and lifestyle, probably can't afford it. And they get into these loans because HDFS makes it easy and others make it easy. And then what's the first thing you're going to give up on? Your house? No. Your car, truck? No. You need that to go to work and live. The motorcycle.
Yeah.
So just to point out, the manufacturer is making money by financing bikes.
Mm-hmm.
The dealer is making money when they offer you financing.
Correct.
They're
on that
incentivized,
bike,
right?
Yeah. They get a commission.
So what's interesting about his suggestion that the bikes are not in stock anywhere, that you go and you order your bike, you order what color, what things you want, and then it gets shipped to you. It's interesting. I wonder how much the price would go down when you take out the two middlemen that are the banks on both sides.
Well, it doesn't take them out. It's just that the inventory is owned by somebody else for a long time, right? It's owned by your your regional distributor.
So how it would have to work is you'd have to have a distributor. And let's just say something like Ducati, right? So you're going to have a distributor, maybe East Coast, West Coast, and when you want to order a bike, they're going to go and pull something or pull parts. I'm not sure how it works. It's not coming out of the factory like that.
Actually, this is a good question.
They need to have them here, right?
Yeah.
Or is it coming from the factory? I'm wondering, in his idea, is it coming from the factory in Italy and being put on a boat?
Thailand.
Or Thailand,
actually,
or wherever.
Probably
India.
Different question for you, Michael. What's the most common thing for let's say a non-North American brand selling bikes here in North America, and we think of something like Honda North America or Ducati North America. Are they the same company, or are they a separate company that's maybe owned by Honda or Ducati, but is actually just the regional distributor here in North America?
So I lived through that period.
Oh, okay.
I started my career when, since the dawn of time, manufacturers were manufacturers and distributors were separate. So American Honda, as it is called, down not so far from you.
Mm-hmm.
They moved.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
I think they're in Georgia now.
That's Yamaha moved to Georgia.
I know.
I think. Oh my
and
gosh.
Honda,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
They were down in Torrance.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, we visited them there.
That doesn't matter.
But yes, so they moved.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yes,
sorry.
go back to
sidetrack.
Squirrel.
So it used to be that you'd get importers for cars, motorcycles, whatever. And sometimes these importers were literally dealers, just bigger dealers.
Oh, we have an example of that.
Yeah?
Yes, I have Penton, John Penton.
Yes, a large dealer could just be the importer for these things.
That was the start of KTM. He was the guy bringing these bikes over from Austria.
And that was the way it was until really the late 80s, early 90s. And it was the Japanese and Harley Davidson really deserve the credit, if you want to call it that, for following an automotive pattern. And the Japanese did it because, Honda, again, top 5 automaker, was just like, okay, well, we have created a wholly owned national subsidiaries in every major market in the world so that we control all the steps going down. We are our own distributor. And then they just said, well, why don't we do this with motorcycles? And Yamaha followed suit. And, Harley Davidson did this. And eventually everyone did it. And the advantages are simple. When I started working at Yamaha Motors France was an independent company. And what happened in Yamaha Motors Italy was an independent company. And I worked for Yamaha Motors Europe, which is a wholly owned subsidiary, which was Yamaha in the European continent, including the UK. But each of these national markets were independently run, separate companies with franchise, essentially, agreements saying you're going to use our label, our brand, and certain... Well, what happened is, I remember the shock. Like, I'm in design, I'm in R&D, and we go to Paris and we go to the very beautiful Yamaha Motors France headquarters, in Poissy or whatever. And they go, "Here is our design team," and I'm like,
"What?
You don't have a design team.
Why would you have a design team?"
Yeah, and it's like they had independently hired a bunch of designers to make accessories. And of course, process creep, they start getting kind of like, well, we're not just doing accessories, we're actually restyling some of these like Phaser 600s. And I remember the product planner, the Japanese product planner, Japanese too polite, very like stone-faced. But afterwards at the hotel restaurant was like, yeah, we're putting a stop to that. But legally it was hard to do because they were technically a private company making accessories, but they were selling them as Yamaha products. And so YMF became a fully integrated component of Yamaha Motors Europe. So it became this shell, Yamaha Motor Corporation, and it had 3 babies: Yamaha Motor United States, Yamaha Motor Europe, Yamaha Motors, Asia. And then they had subordinates, and then it went down. And so the benefit is control. The brand is consistent. The pricing is consistent. The service, all the things that your letter writer mentioned. I bring up the Japanese because they're very good at this. Like Yamaha just posted a really great first quarter, like strong sales, strong profit, growth. Like, so they're making money and making great products globally. And moving into electrification, like it or not, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Still making cool, weird things like the VMAX and the leaning, the 3-wheeler, and but then also making regular stuff that millions of Indonesians are buying.
Liza has a Nikon, right?
Yeah. She asked about it on the last time I was here, and you can take risks and make interesting experiments that may lead you down new roads or breakout successes because you've got this foundation. So back to the dealer thing, strong OEMs have strong dealers. Strong, confident OEMs that are not squeezing their dealer for another dollar. When you're loyal to your dealers are loyal to you. It's just not that complicated.
Right. I mean, that's where their bread is buttered. I mean,
it's the contact point between the manufacturer and the customer. The only one. Because I've been on the other side. I've been, on the OEM side. We do focus groups, and you hire a third-party agency, and I do these sometimes for my clients. It's like a picture of a picture. You're very removed, but the dealer's getting the real goods. They're hearing the real complaints, unvarnished. They're hearing the real compliments. The authentic vibe of the customer, of the community. So I come back to that Spanish, the Aprilia Sonic. They kept the Sonic production going 5 years beyond its projected date because one great dealer made it a regional success. They sold 7,000 of these scooters, and they just could keep wringing blood from a stone from a bike that's tooling had been paid for, 8 years prior. So you're right. The dealer is critical. And the direct to consumer thing, we tried it. It's different if you're buying a phone. Like, does it really matter if my iPhone, I just need the box that it comes in to show up at my door. Motorcycles and motor vehicle, you need advice.
Are we seeing? Yeah. Do you think that's changing a bit with some of the larger electric companies going direct to consumer?
No, I mean, first of all, there are no large electric companies other than Yadea.
Sorry,
Yadea is huge.
There's a large electric car manufacturer based not too far from
Tesla?
here. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yes, 4 wheels.
Texas now, but
so look, Volkswagen Group is going to do this with Scout, and direct to consumer. My brother was a serious car enthusiast and a serious car executive. His whole career, he had a Tesla, and he had the whole experience of it being brought to his home, and he was quite impressed by that. You know what he's more impressed by? Now, this is a person with a certain affluence. But when he goes to the Porsche service center and he sits in a really expensive, not knockoff, real, Eames chair and has his gratuitous cappuccino while they do the $500 oil change or whatever. Like that's
cheap.
No, I'm guessing it might be 500 pounds. He lives in the UK.
Usually you can't get out of there for less than $2,500. So my friend who has a Cayman tells me.
Well, my dad was one of the early Tesla guys, and he got a tour of the factory and a watch.
Yeah, I want to get back to this though, because I think that some of those experiences, while the perks of direct to consumer for someone like your brother might not be quite comparable, and not everybody's in that same tax bracket that they've ever had that Porsche experience.
Well, and also, I mean, even though the initial experience of having it delivered to your house and getting all of the little bells and whistles might be exciting and interesting and different, when that car has a problem down the road and you live 300 miles away from the nearest Tesla dealer, what do you do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So you pay someone to tow that car 300 miles to have it diagnosed or serviced?
I have no idea what people do.
This is a great dovetail, because literally today I ran in by chance to the owner of a shop that's 20 kilometers from here, 15 miles from here. He's a VW specialist. I have a 1987 camper van, Volkswagen camper van. Really simple machines to work on, but there's stuff that I just don't want to do, and they're professionals and they're specialists. They love this is one of the Westphalia like safe places where from regionally people bring their wounded air coolers to get resuscitated.
Westphalia's.
Cool. Yes. So I've got 400,000 kilometers on my original engine, so mine's been pretty great. But anyway, I run into him, and
so is yours a Vanagon generation or
it is?
Okay,
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, the aerodynamic qualities of a block.
Right. No Subaru swap yet?
Oh no, I'm keeping it pure. But to your point about dealer,
yeah,
I've been going there for as long as my youngest daughter's been alive. I've probably put that mechanic's kids through college because I've done a full ground up restoration. And, she runs really well, but sometimes stuff goes wrong. And like this spring, I'm taking it out. I know you guys are like, spring, it's May 17th. Up here, it's spring. She turned it over. It started no problem. And it starts kind of misfiring. And I'm like, oh, what's wrong with you? And anyway, notice some things. I run into him today in the parking lot. I just mentioned it to him. I'm not just a customer. He knows me. Our daughters go to the same after school program. This is going back to this point of a direct to consumer versus dealer. I am not super wealthy. I don't have a Porsche. I have nice but not exceptional cars. But I love my VW dealer. And he's not a dealer selling new cars. He's a mom and pop, an independent that services Volkswagens. I like the relationship I have. I like that I'm known. My wife is known. We drop the cars off to get the winter tires put on. They're like, oh yeah, just pick it up whenever.
But the reality is, in motorcycle dealers, those are going away. They can't afford to stay in business.
That's right. Because the margins are too small.
And the insurance is going up and the real estate's going up. They can't afford. Yes, that works for you. And there are a lot of places in the world, in the country, that they still exist. But whereas they were common, they no longer are. So the question I have is, the way that the dealer network is set up right now in U.S. and Canada, can it exist? Can it continue to exist? And is it the best way
I think the floor plan is dead. I think that it can work in major urban centers where you have multiple dealers of the same brand. Right. Los Angeles County can afford to have floor plan dealers. I think once you get into the valley, I don't think it makes any sense because, and I'm saying this as knowing a little bit about California geography, so forgive me if I'm mistaken. But
that's okay. Let's just speak as a metro center and a more rural area.
Right. So smaller towns, doesn't make sense to say you can only be a Harley dealer, Honda dealer, whatever. If you commit $3-5 million, you have to build a custom building. It has to be according to our designs, which means on the outskirts of town. You're going to be So what you're going to end up with is dealers who are multi-million, what am I saying? Like big businesses, huge corporate businesses.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm not opposed to that. But to your point, is exactly right. This is the symptom, pardon me, and a corollary spin-off of the problem that North American motorcycling faces.
Mhm.
And when I say North American, I'm excluding Mexico, which is a fantastically vibrant and healthy motorcycle industry we could all learn a few things from. Yes, you go to the big, bright, shiny dealer, and on the same block is a mom and pop in Mexico. Just like in Europe, just like in Japan and South Korea, like Turkey, like all these places where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of people buy motorcycles of all ages. Small, expensive, big, whatever. Dirt bikes, touring bikes, the whole gamut. We need to go back to you can have big urban area that can support it, can have a floor plan, big dealer. That can be the glossy dealership that, and then you have to encourage the small dealers. And it's not just because I'm romantic about it. It may sound like my example in my Westphalia. No, I think it's better business. And I say this as someone who works with OEMs. India, world's largest motorcycle market. TVS is now number 3 in the world, surpassed Yamaha. How do you think they get most of their sales? Royal Enfield, 1.1 million motorcycles sold, 1,100,000 of which were sold in India. They're sold in dealerships the size of most Americans' home garage.
Yeah.
2-car garage.
Yep.
And like your reader said, they have 3 fully assembled new motorcycles at any given time, maybe 5. Then they've got a little selection of like maybe some helmets and some jackets. They got a parts counter with the most brakes and basic stuff that they go through a lot of batteries, tires. And then they have relationships. And this is how the network works. You are not an adversary with the other mom and pop down the road, even if you're selling the same bike. Because you want the sale, but ultimately you both want the sale. All right, I bagged this customer. I sold this Bajaj, cheap
Bajaj.
And my friend down the street didn't. But you know what? That customer is going to come back and say, hey, I need an air filter kit, and I don't happen to have one this week. So I'm going to say, go see those guys. I'm going to call them right now and say you're coming, and they're going to set it aside for you. That informal helping each other out builds the community, gets more people on bikes. Everyone wins.
All right, I have you got a quick on Bagel?
Just real quick, because when you were talking about the Volkswagen dealer where you live, that was my thought, is that is a community-based approach to running their business.
Is that
where they're not just there to drop in and suck up a bunch of money from the public? They're there to stay and build relationships and
they live here.
Right. Well, right.
They live here.
And they're interested in creating something that is sustainable, that will last over time, and that the public can rely on.
It's a long-term
Trust.
play.
Yeah.
It is. And I have no problem working with giant multinationals. I have no problem with big business. Sometimes you have an auto group. Literally my next door neighbor, like the house next to mine in the woods here, is a gentleman who owns about 40% of the car dealerships in my province in Nova Scotia. And, there are 2 families in this province that own all the car dealerships. It's either a this or it's a that.
Yeah.
So you can get a Toyota from one or a Toyota from the other, but there's not a lot of room. This is not a healthy model. And I'm not throwing him under the bus. He's a lovely guy. But, the reality is he doesn't care. He hires managers to run these businesses. And, that doesn't mean that there aren't people in each of those dealerships who aren't nice and sincere. But, at the end of the day, it's like you're dealing with a person who's extremely successful entrepreneur. Great. But this doesn't help the single mom who walks in off the street into his Kia shop and says, I'm looking for a good entry-level SUV for me and my 2 kids. Because the attitude from the top down is, we're moving metal. We're just moving metal. And okay, I get it. You got to move metal. But can there be a layer of sincerity there too. You make your money, I get it. Sure. But does it have to be that cold? I have seen it work in other ways in other jurisdictions, and it ultimately leads to better bottom line. So you get the win-win. Happier customer, happier employees at the dealership, and ultimately more money.
So
and the OEM is happy.
So between repeat business and word of mouth and referrals and
all right, I got a question for you now. And there's no wrong answer here. Let's say you walk into a BMW dealership. Do you think is the average price of a BMW? To throw a number out.
Well, 50% of their bikes are GS, the big GS. So, the average price is going to be well over 20.
Okay.
22,
Say
24.
it's a Yamaha dealership. What do you think average price is?
I don't know the U.S. makeup of their
There's not a
sales,
wrong
but
answer. Perception.
I'm going to say 11, 12.
Okay. Now let's say there's a new dealership and they're going to sell CF Moto and Royal Enfield. What do you think the average price?
Yeah.
You think the average is 7?
I think the average is 7.
So how does, because now we're going to segue in, one of the things we wanted to talk about was the influx of Chinese bikes. Not just Chinese, Indian too with the Royal Enfield, but I'm throwing them in because they're in that same price point and quality level. For these brands coming in, and let's say you have a dealership that wants to sell CF Moto, Royal Enfield, Benelli, and let's just throw in for fun, California Scooter Company, CSC, right?
Yeah, let's just lump these in as like entry-level price point, new market players.
How does that work with the current dealer network? Can they survive? Because they're going to have to sell 3 to 4 times the amount of bikes as BMW to make the same profit potentially, right?
Not only are they going to survive, it's apocalypse time for legacy brands. I'm not saying this so that, to provoke.
Yeah.
We're all sadly old enough to remember when, the Japanese came in, decimated the US electronics industry, televisions, radios, stereos, took out the German European optics industry, cameras, telescopes, medical, equipment. The Japanese took on all comers, never mind cars.
Yeah.
Watch Motor Week Retro. And, I used to watch that after school, and it's like, everyone had a Honda Accord. Like everyone had a Honda Accord. And all of a sudden the Chevy Caprice was only the taxi cab. And up here in Canada anyway. And you're just like, wow, that happened quickly.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. The Chinese motorcycles, and we have to distinguish. Look, I love a lot about the Indian brands. TVS is on a tear. Their products are dynamic, interesting, cool styling. But in terms of physical quality, performance and assembly quality, materials quality, they are not on the same plane. Royal Enfield, TVS, Bajaj, good. Chinese, great. And when I say Chinese, I don't mean the stuff you drop ship from Alibaba, Amazon. Right. I mean CF Moto. I mean Lonsin Group, which is Cove. The Zongshen, the Benelli.
The 3.5.
3.5.
the Moto Marini.
Moto Marini.
They're all Morbidelli. They're all Chinese.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that they're, Italians own. They're made in China. They're engineered in China. The only thing Italian about it is the styling. And even that.
And design.
Ish. Benelli, yes. CF Moto, yes.
Moto Marini, yes. Yeah.
But the thing about the Chinese brands is, yes, they sell for a much smaller margin. But if you're like, I spoke to my local dealer here because I was getting tires for the Yamaha, and he's a CF Moto dealer, and he told me straight up. He said, "We're dropping Polaris." I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Wow.
He says, because they up here it's a lot of ATVs and side by sides, right? Motorcycles are like 20% of their business, and quads and four wheelers are like 70-80%. And he said, like, we're dropping Polaris. I was like, oh yeah, what's going on? He goes, I've got 2 techs basically full-time doing warranty work.
Ooh.
And this is a company that is, well run. I know people at Polaris. They're great human beings. They work really hard. The quality is just not improved consistently over time. Indians and Polaris branded ATVs and side-by-sides.
It's
The CF Motos,
Harley and Honda
Yeah.
all over again.
Does Polaris not
Wow.
also do a bunch of like snow machines and stuff?
they do.
Yeah.
Different dealer network?
No,
Nope, same.
actually, maybe. I just don't pay attention to that too much, strangely,
Yeah.
even though I'm Canadian. But he mentioned that CF Moto had the same level of quality problems 2-3 years ago, and that in just 2 or 3 years, he goes, now he's getting no warranty claims, none. And he's saying like these are the same customers. They resisted, then they got tempted. Oh, it's cheaper, and now they're like, no, it's just better. So we are experiencing that Japanese moment, 1980 moment. If you are a dealer and you are not retailing a Chinese motorcycle, you're in trouble.
You said it was.
That is what the traditional major manufacturers need to worry about, because when their quality gets surpassed by China and they're not able to catch up, that is a death knell for them.
Let's be clear. Europeans and Harley Davidson need to worry about this. There are 4 brands that do not need to worry about this: Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki. Together. And let's hear me carefully. 74% of motorcycles sold on planet Earth are of Japanese origin or have significant Japanese content. So they're going to be fine. Their quality, we all know this. I did a podcast with a friendly, another bunch of friends. We were talking about the V-Strom. And the feedback, from that episode, people are like devoted to this motorcycle. And it's like really simple to understand.
Yeah, we got one of those.
V-Strom's, like I said, is like a Labrador dog. It's just loyal, hardworking. It loves you, and it asks for nothing back. It's just
wants to
wagging
run
its
with
tail,
you.
going, "Are we going for a ride yet?"
Yeah, just tires, because I keep wearing mine out because they ride the snot out of it.
And then once every while, you're like, maybe every election cycle, you're like, I should probably change the oil.
No, I do mine every 5,000 with Motul 300V. So no,
But
The point stands, though.
how are we going to see the dealerships change with this influx of China? What is going to change?
I think it's going to be no different than what we lived through in the early 80s. There will be resistance along nationalist lines. People are going to say, we have ideological or political objection to carrying this. And I understand this. My father was silent generation. He can remember, he passed away a long time ago, but that generation when we were kids and the Japanese stuff, we were just like, yeah, cool. Like Marty McFly, like all the best stuff is Japanese. They remember half their high school class dying fighting the Japanese.
Right.
So that was a pretty bitter pill to swallow that, wait, you're buying a Honda? Like, how could you do this to me? I can see the same, not to the same extent, but there's going to be resistance. At the same time, this podcast is made possible, I'm going to guess, 100% on Chinese-built electronics, computers, microphones, modems, everything. And if it isn't 100, it's a very high percentage. At some point, the consumer is just going to say, these are great bikes, and they're priced fair. And to your point about the dealers are going to make a decent margin because, yeah, they might only make $400 or $500 on the lower end stuff. But anyone who's been in this business at the retail end knows that, okay, we spent the last 30 years selling mega high margin motorcycles. You said BMW, Harley Davidson, Indian. And then we patted ourselves on the back of how clever we are. And then we knocked on another 8-10 grand in accessories. Take that and just move it down market. So yeah, you only sold a $7,000 motorcycle and maybe you only made $500 on it. But now that person likes you. They're into motorcycles. They're going to buy the helmet from you. They're going to buy their tires from you because you're going to say, yeah, you can order them online, but if you buy them from me, I'll mount them. And you know what? I'll throw in this thing for $20. Oh, okay. And now you've got that trust again, that relationship, and then you need trust. This is not
but again,
a laptop.
They can't
It's
afford to stay in business.
I can't speak to the macroeconomic situation where you live. I don't know enough about it.
I can tell you, we've seen it here. You can't afford. Our friend Phil, he was looking at this and he did the math. It is not possible for the cost per square foot that you need to be able to make a profit. So even if you're going to I'm going to keep all those parts in stock so people come in and buy the parts. Well, there's more footage you need. I'm going to keep plenty of bikes in stock so you can walk out the door with that bike you wanted. There's more footage needed. He did the math. It's not possible to make a profit on the cost per square foot where we live. So now we got these cheaper brands that you need to sell 4 times the amount of motorcycles, which means more footage.
Well, this comes back to the conversation we were having about distribution and who actually owns the inventory. And if that inventory is quick to ship, regionally located, doesn't take a ton of time to assemble it, a lot of that can be ameliorated by not stocking absolutely everything, like the Mexican style or Indian style mom and pop sort of retailers that only have a couple of bikes that are physically there in stock.
That, and they don't have the flooring overhead.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm wondering, and yes, I will admit, our perspective is here in a part of the country that's not like the rest of the country, but we're seeing what happens when they can't afford. It's not possible. The math doesn't math. The way the dealer network works. And I'm seeing it spread further and further and further wider from where we are as more and more dealerships fold.
And if I can add a little something too, I think really what this comes down to is that it is forcing companies to be more efficient in their supply chains, because the days of running your business fast and loose are over. Our economy has shrank substantially. There isn't the kind of loose money that people have to just throw at stuff to be able to fund these big operations that are costly. Companies are going to need to figure out how to be more efficient and in order to survive through this what is an economic recession, that
a significant contraction.
Yeah.
I would go back to the distribution point that you made. The floor plan offset distribution from the distributor to the dealer. It was a really awful, clever move by big OEMs at a time when capital was cheap. And it made sense for a while. And, look, Harley-Davidson, it's never been my cup of tea. But I respect that for 30 years, it was a cash cow, the likes of which this industry has never seen, and let me be clear, will never see again. It was a confluence of many things. Intergenerational timing, macroeconomic forces. The Cold War ended, brand America was hugely popular everywhere in the world. There were so many things going on that aligned perfectly so that dealers could sell at or above MSRP and have these huge debts that didn't matter because by September they'd be cleared and they'd be, the Harley dealers were banking and Harley was banking and everything else. So that time's not coming back. Distribution should be with the distributor. That's why that's their role. So whether it's an OEM distributor like, Yamaha Motors USA or American Honda, and they have, let's say, 2 or 3, probably 3 distribution nodes in the continental US, one for the South, is Texas, and, is such a huge market. And then, West Coast, East Coast, great. And it's incumbent on them. And in this day and age where I can, any of us right now on our phones could order something that's in Kuala Lumpur, and it'll be here in my obscure cabin in the middle of nowhere, Nova Scotia, in 3 days from a factory in Malaysia. It shouldn't be that hard to get a motorcycle 2 or 3 states over, 4 states, to a local dealer that is just told, hey, listen, you didn't sell this, but you can assemble it and you'll make $300 and it'll only take you an hour and a half to do.
Yeah, there are a handful of bicycle companies that operate in that method where you order it on the internet, it gets shipped to your local retailer, they assemble it and give you a phone call.
Right. Yeah. And then now you still get that relationship going with the local dealer. The dealer's doesn't have this huge overhead. And now the dealer and the distributor, or in this scenario, the manufacturer, are partners. It's in both their interests to ship metal. So the OEM covers the marketing, the ads, getting people excited and whatever. And the one part about the email you read about like, oh, I should be able to walk in and have one of every model ready to test drive. That's never going to happen. And it never has happened. You're asking a dealer to have licensed and plated inventory that is now used and has lost luster, and they have to sell at a discount so that I can go in there. I think I'll try this chocolate one, and then I'll have the vanilla, and then I'm going to go away and think about it. Like, no, it's not going to happen.
And that also adds a great deal of liability because what if someone crashes the bike and then it's a bike you don't own, the bank owns, but you have to pay for it all of a sudden.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the manufacturer must go back. Like every manufacturer has these ride events. Let me just get something off my chest for
Okay.
Lay it out.
I'm gonna
tell us how you really feel.
Motorcycle marketing worldwide is awful. Is so bad.
Yes.
To my colleagues and some friends who come from the marketing world in motorcycling, I love you, but you suck at your job.
There it is. There it is.
It's not just motorcycle marketing, but yes.
I don't mean that they're not hardworking or that they're not talented or lack experience, but if I ever see another motorcycle video with an electric guitar, riff and the dusty country highway, like, you do know it's 2026.
Selling the dream.
We're trying to get people who are under 300 years of age to maybe consider riding a motorcycle. So the whole OEM outlook on how to introduce vehicles to the customer is very dated. In India, it's a lot better, a lot younger, a lot more dynamic. To us, if you watch them, you can YouTube them, especially the stuff in Hindi. It's a little like, what the hell? But you gotta say, it's exciting. It's going, it's touching the nerves of the age group that is buying these things. And the age group that's buying them is 20 to 35. Remember when young people rode motorcycles and dealers could stay alive because they were selling 2 bikes, 3 bikes, 4 bikes a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. And getting them maintained.
Well,
So there isn't, like I said at the start, there isn't a single answer.
Yeah.
The OEMs own this problem. Make more products that people actually want. Make them more visible. The test ride events, it's not that, we have a tour and we have a bunch of well-paid people in a giant semi that goes and does 5 cities in California.
That's how it works.
We pat ourselves on the back and go, we did a test ride event. We're like, no, it's never ending. It's got to be that there's a road show and think small. A transit van with 3 identical bikes. And this week we're hitting 26 dealers in one long weekend.
So doing pop-ups versus
pop-ups.
Yeah.
Royal Enfield does that.
Social media, you say, hey, we've got, whatever it is. Let's say it's a Honda, whatever, Rebel. We got 3 Rebels. Come and take a ride. And it's on us, not the dealer, the OEM.
All right.
So the parts are all owned and liability is with them. And that's the only way forward.
Did you get it all out?
Almost.
All right, because we're running out of time, and I have to ask you. I'd like to talk about a company that's marketing department may be a lot better than its production department.
Okay.
Damon.
Oh, yeah. All right. So
what's the deal?
All right.
And for those who don't know, can you give a short synopsis of who Damon
Absolutely.
is?
Yes. Okay. So full disclosure.
Yes.
Okay. Damon is a Canadian. Is I'm not sure.
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly.
It is whether it's in existence still is the question, but it is, let's say, a Canadian company. It was registered and operated out of Vancouver, British Columbia, beautiful city. And it was founded in 2018 or 19 by two partners who had this idea they're going to make an electric sport bike. And it was going to have ADAS, a active rider assistance. So the things, we take for granted in keeping, blind, 360-degree radar bubble. This is all available now on BMW and KTM, but in 2018-19, this was pretty crazy stuff.
Well, the thing that I liked most about was the adjustable
and that
controls and handlebars that can fit you, just like an automatic seat in most cars now. Yeah.
Right. And the logic was quite simple. Even the cheapest, nastiest car from 1974 had adjustable seat.
Yeah.
How come motorcycles are like one size fits all?
Yeah.
So you hit a switch and there were 3 positions for the foot pegs and for the handlebars. And it was a pretty substantial difference. So we're not talking millimeters. We're talking like inches of movement. And the fairing moved with it. It was quite beautiful. So full disclosure, I was hired by Damon in 2021. 2020?
So you came in the middle of the storm.
Early.
Yeah.
And after their first big fundraise, and I was head of design, and I want to say on the record, with great pride, I was fired.
There it is. Okay.
I was fired 9 months later by the founder and CEO. Totally unexpected, totally blindsided me. I had a big product presentation on a Friday. It was Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. Spent the weekend at a farm with my girls. We picked pumpkins. We got some turkey. We went home. We all ate tons of food. We felt great. Monday morning, I up on a call and it's like, you're out of here. Wow.
Can I would like to compare, and this is my own personal opinion. I want to state that, not the opinion of all the misfits or of Michael, but my opinion is that I'm going to compare Damon to the Trump golden phone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That tracks.
I'm gonna
that there was an
say this.
idea, a concept that was sold, that was supposed to be a really cool, amazing, great thing. And then as things unfolded and they realized it wasn't actually possible to do what they said they would do, stories started changing.
So, no.
Okay. Tell me I'm wrong then. Please.
You are wrong.
Okay.
There were at one point, 75 people working there. I'm still friends with a number of them, including people who were very senior. They really wanted to make this happen, and they really tried really very hard.
I'm not saying there was a scam. I'm saying I think they set out to do a thing that was supposed to be great and made all the announcements.
Liza, you're saying the Trump phone was not a scam?
I don't think they started out as a scam.
You sure about that?
Damon, I mean, it's, the story isn't ended, I guess, but
yeah. Well, right now on their website, they're still having investor panels.
So their stock is delisted, and I'm not sure what the status of the company is. But here's what I just want to get out there. They really did. They were very naive. They were all. So this is a story quite familiar in the four-wheeled world too. People who have no background in the motorcycle industry come into the motorcycle industry. People with no background in the car business come into the car business. We're going to show all you old fogies how it's done.
Yes.
Well, here's a funny thing. Lean in. I'm going to tell you a secret. Making motor vehicles is really
Okay?
Like making a prototype is one thing, but mass producing is make 10 of something where 10 are identical, 10 are reliable, 10 don't break down. Never mind 100, never mind 10, 15, 30,000, never mind like Honda, 20 million a year. So it's really hard. We've been making motorcycles as a species for 150 years. We've kind of worked out a lot of stuff because we stand on the shoulders of people before us who worked out these things. And they the presumption to think, I'm so clever, I'm going to outsmart not only everyone in the world now, but everyone in the last 150 years who ever tried to do this.
They're
So
going to
there was that.
disrupt.
But it was
Yeah.
a time when money was flowing everywhere. If you had a pitch deck and you said, hey, I'm invented a new smart Kleenex, it's going to, you're going to blow your nose and it's going to detect, particles of snot and tell you, your health. Someone on Wall Street or in Silicon Valley was going to be writing you a check for, large, 7 digits. They're like, go, my son, innovate
That's
in
basically
the
the
smart tissue market.
That's basically the Theranos story.
Yeah.
Right. But the difference is that, like, the Damon messed up big time because they had some assumptions, as you said, 200-mile range with 200 mile an hour. Like, the technology doesn't exist now to do that.
Yeah.
But could you make an electric sport bike that is compelling, that has a range of 250 kilometers, so 170 miles, that can do 250 kilometers an hour, so 180 miles an hour? Yes. And still have the adjustable stuff? Yes. And have the ADAS? 100%. I saw the prototypes. I didn't ride them because it was dangerous as hell, and undercooked. The company went through their IPO. The founders had a big blowout. One of them left. The other one rode the ship into the stones. And then and was sacked by the board. The other founder was invited back and said, can this be saved? And to his great credit, guy could have said, I'm out of here. I want nothing to do with this. I want nothing, none of this stink. This is a mission impossible. And he had a great career somewhere else in the motorcycle industry. He took that on. He paid back more than 90% of the debt and started a new program that was going to be real. And I know, because full disclosure, I worked on that too.
There was a lot of people who felt that this was a scam from the beginning because there were promises being made. And what's interesting now, if you go
Their
to
marketing was
the website
pure science fiction
now, and everything I'm finding on the website is about their portfolio value, about investing, stock information. But then if you click on the links to see any of the bikes, it's a dead link.
Oof. I'm not sure there's anyone actually working there.
And this is as recent as January. They were doing investor webinars.
This sounds a lot less like
January
a scam.
of last year.
This year.
This sounds
2026.
This sounds a lot less like a scam and more like a dream that hasn't quite worked out.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to know, because a lot of people didn't know what was going on there. It's great to hear that there were good people with good ideas. It didn't
Not only
happen.
that, it's more than just good people and good ideas. There were some bad people with very bad ideas too.
And some ignorance.
There was a colossal amount of arrogance, I would call it. And by the time the right people were in charge, it was too late.
Yeah.
The amount of work done in 2025 was phenomenal, thanks to external support. I mean, this is all in the public. You can see it on their past. Like, they started working with an Italian outfit I know very intimately, Engines Engineering in Bologna. E&E has worked with Yamaha, Suzuki, Piaggio, Bologna, Ducati, like everybody. They have 50 years of exceptional motorcycle R&D. And they were making the realistic Damon HS that was going to actually be producible and was supposed to be produced this year for real. And there were real suppliers and real deals for batteries and motors and chassis and casting and forging and wheels, the whole bit. And that's all public disclosure. Like, they did press releases in November and September about the HS race. And I participated as a consultant on that. And the people who worked on the engineering were all Italians. And they really know their business when it comes to sport motorcycles. It was very pure. It was very simple. They deleted all the electronics, a lot of the electronics. And they said, look, let's just get a reliable, excellent handling electric bike into customer hands.
Yeah.
and then we'll grow and we can add stuff later. And they just ran out of runway. But
mismanaged.
Man,
it was mismanaged prior to 2025, I would say. And I think the public record clearly shows that. And I don't want to disparage people. I've been in this business for 26, almost 27 years. I've worked with all kinds, inside big OEMs that we know, inside small companies. There are all kinds of people in this world. And one thing, I'm happy to share stories, but I don't kiss and tell. So I find it's just a better practice to focus on, like, I'll be dead honest about my mistakes, because that's a different story. I will happily share the worst projects I've ever done, and why I screwed up.
We may have to save that for another episode. Have you gone to just talk about all the things you fucked up?
I'm here for it. Confession.
Well, I could keep talking to you forever because you have so much great insight into things, but we have to wrap up. I wanted to thank you for coming on again. I'm going to keep you in my Rolodex, if you don't mind. I love having you as a kind of an industry voice to kind of explain things, because a lot of times we don't understand how it really works or what's going on, and there's false perceptions of things, and you're really good at just kind of breaking it down and explaining it. So thank you for that.
It's always a pleasure to talk to people who have fun making motorcycles and riding bikes and talking bikes.
Yeah.
So happy to come back anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh, no. Summer?
Happy summer.
Happy 2-4.
writing.
Thank you. Our fall hits around December 28th, and our summer is January 2nd. So
don't, please.
Twist the knife, will you?
Canada-U.S. tensions are at their peak already.
Yeah.
Don't bring the weather into this.
Yes, I am sorry. I'll just give you that.
Don't be sorry for living in a beautiful place.
Well, thank you for coming on. We'll hope to have you on again soon.
I'd love to. Take care, guys.
All right, good talking to you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, so we'll got to get to some emails. Bagel, do you have the email from Branko?
From Branko, yes. I have email from Branko.
Why don't you go ahead with that one?
Subject, commitment is the key. Branko writes, Dear Misfits, I'm Branko, and for the sake of role play you all like to do so much, I will wholeheartedly allow you to butcher my accent to the worst Slavic Eastern European that you possibly can.
Uhlarik, don't smoosh accent.
I suspect it will be good fun. Having spent most of half a century around the world, I don't really have a heavy accent. But where's the fun in that? Anywho, I am a random listener, meaning I allow for the episodes to pile up for a few months before I dive back into the podcast, and then I just pick one randomly. And as luck would have it, this morning on my 50-mile commute, I tapped on episode 639 and took a keen interest into dirt bike riding course suggestions. Obviously, you all had some great ones, but what I've heard go unsaid, that's a weird way to put it, even though it was insinuated with looking where you want to go, is mostly commitment. I've spent my fair share of time riding in the deserts and wadis of UAE, and what I've learned is most people fail in overcoming an obstacle because they hesitate. Whether it is a sand dune, a rocky hill climb, or a boulder, it's the lack of commitment to the exit that leads up to stalling, falling, backtracking, and an hour or two of getting out of tough spots.
That's what you said that Sophia brought.
What's that?
What did you say Sophia brought? The
tenacity?
The boldness? Yeah.
Boldness?
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Fear is real, and that is why commitment needs to be named and taught. On a second note, I'd pick an NC750X as a 200K mile bike.
Okay.
No, it's not particularly fast or exciting, and my heart would never choose it. But if we are going to pick a bike for a purpose, that's the one. Adequately comfortable, utterly reliable, dirt cheap to fill up and maintain. Thank you for putting out so much great content. I wish you all live forever.
Ah.
Yours truly, Branko. P.S. I really want to say fuck knock, even if I misspell it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bronco.
Thanks, Branko.
All right. I have 2 here from Ray, but they were sent back to back.
Double header.
Yes. The first one, it says, hello, my name is Ray and I'm from Virginia. I work on a farm and listen to podcasts all day pretty much. The content is greatly appreciated, especially Miss Emma's insights into details about bikes. Podcast 675, you guys couldn't find any wow factor Hondas to represent the brand. I was so frustrated that no one brought these up. The Blackbird, the new Fireblade, the VFR line, the RC30, which is a VFR, but it's one on its own, the CR250 and 125. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But Jesus, I mean, talk about wow factor. Love the show. Would love some more history episodes on bike lineage and technology. But all the episodes are pretty damn good. I'd really love to hear about each of y'all and how you got started in the riding space and your lives. Though that's a bit off topic. Well, Ray, thank you. Yes, I mean, Honda has extended themselves out, but that's not really what they're known for, was my point.
Yeah, and
they're known for being
models,
stable, dependable, the middle of the road, all the
right
things.
for everyone.
and they haven't really introduced anything super groundbreaking in the past 15, 20 years. Of course, the CBR 1000 RR, that's a $30,000 motorcycle, is the pinnacle of leader bike engineering. Very still competitive on in World Superbike and others, but in the rest of the model line, CR250, KX250, RM250. I mean, they're all pretty close in terms of
CR250 is the 2-stroke,
right?
Yeah.
That's singling that out because she mentioned it.
Yeah.
Or they mentioned it.
So he sent a second one a little while later. Ray again. I understand the point you were making, Liza. Many Honda bikes just work. There you go. He gets it. Their power is linear, their design's not contemporary, and their power handling is average. It's like the everyman's brand. To be fair, that's part of their motto. Everyone can ride a Honda, right?
Yep.
But every once in a while, they do create something truly unique and amazing, especially the VFR line. Both the RC30 and the non-homologated street versions, the Fireblade line, the Blackbird, and the VTR are very cool. I've never ridden one or seen one in person, but they look sick as hell, to be frank. I revoke my CR125 250 call as well. You go 2-stroke dirt bikes, you go Cowie. Everyone knows that. By the way, the RC30
Hello, KTM.
was the first race bike built with a V4, WSPK or GP. Talk about moving industry, right? Anyway, thanks for the time. Sorry for the essays I wrote.
I had a thought, actually, after listening to that. The Kawasaki hydrogen-powered robot horse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, there's videos you can see.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's pretty wow.
Robot horse. Do I really want that in my browser history?
And, we don't know. It's possible. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I bet you Honda is spending quite a lot of money on R&D of a lot of things. But then you get down to the bean counters who say, what if we're going to make a bike on production worthy? We can't do those things. So, I mean, but I'm sure, because I know for a fact that for quite some time they've been developing an electric motorcycle and seeing what everyone else is doing and working on it. But they're not going to put it to market till they know it's reliable and affordable.
It stands up to the Honda name.
Yeah.
But Liza, Honda's not racing motorcycles anymore, are they?
Right. Well, that's another point.
And that's that's something that I think reflects their commitment too, because if they were using their R&D to produce cutting edge motorcycles, they would be in racing in order to give them the information they need to do that. They've given up on that entirely, it seems, or largely anyway.
I would,
and their R&D seems to be oriented towards everyday bikes. Right?
So to counter and somewhat amplify what you just said, I think the most significant thing that Honda has developed in the past 10 years, technological wise, is the DCT transmission.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
But that is also in order to produce a more accessible bike for everyone to ride.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
they first introduced it. It wasn't the Africa Twin, the first bike the
DCT?
And
was it the first, or was it in a Goldwing first?
Did they have there's a DCT?
Or was it in
Goldwing?
the NM4 first?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It
Doesn't
all
matter.
kind of
It
came
might be
around
the
the same
NM4,
time.
actually.
It might be NM4, yeah. All right. You got one here, Neal?
I sure do. This is from Keith Dibbler.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, Keith.
Keith relates, "Howdy, folks. I just ordered a new T-shirt tonight, and I will wear it proudly. And it looks awesome, Keith. Just so you know. I just want to give you all a very thank you for all the work you do for Motorcycles and Misfits. Your community is very privileged to have you. Our last co-op garage in Fort Myers, Florida, closed up just before I moved out here. I will be on a ride with my local Vespa club tomorrow, and we'll tell them about your podcast. Take care, ride safe, Dibber."
Oh, thanks.
And thanks for the kudos.
Love it.
All right. We got one more?
I've got one here from Michael Bondi or Bondi. Hi, Michael. Hello, Liza, Miss Emma, Naked Jim, and all the Misfits. It's Procrastimike, your bi-coastal friend from New Hampshire. Finally writing to thank you for our lovely visit last April to the Recycle Garage with my wife, Denise, and son, Tony. We had such a beautiful week eating our way from Gale's Bakery for breakfast, lunch, and breakfast again in Capitola Village, all the way up to Sonoma and then to Chez Panisse and back.
I'm going there in a few weeks.
Back all the way home to my home away from home, Campo de Bocce, which is the Bocce bar kind of thing over in Los Gatos.
In Los Gatos, right?
Yeah.
You'll recall I was not riding due to my shoulder shoulder surgery, but we had a perfectly lovely time in our red Mustang convertible up the coast through the heart of San Francisco and through wine country. Well, here's your ride report. We had an unprecedented warm, sunny summer and fall last year, which kept me out of the garage and on the twisty roads of New Hampshire. Winter in New England brought far too much freezing temperatures and icy, treacherous days of snowboarding. With Tony finally returning home from college in Chicago, today finally brought a proper New Hampshire spring day, sunny and 75. Just in time for the Distinguished Gentleman's 2026 rally. The Distinguished Gentleman's ride, though I got a late start, I managed to have some wonderful friends and family support me in today's ride for over 60 riders. We had the most beautiful day in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, up the coast through Kittery and York, Maine. A truly fabulous coastal New England route that Denise and I ride often, with the rare opportunity to skip all the red lights, stop signs, and black flies. I will even open an invitation here for anyone coming to New Hampshire for Laconia Bike Week.
Oh, nice.
I've got a large yard with enough for a few tents and the garage with plenty of tools. Thank you again for your hospitality last year and the always informative and entertaining weekly podcast. Keep the rubber side down until we meet again.
Thank you.
Bi-coastal Mike.
I have an announcement,
Yes.
Scottie, and I hope I can get you in on this. I made this announcement before about our involvement at Bonneville.
Oh, yes. I'd love to find a way to be involved.
And now Neal's going to be joining us as well. He got permission from the spouse.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got clearance. Well, I'm tokens up now, so.
So August 23rd to 27th, Bonneville Motorcycle Speed Trials. We will be hosting the Spectator Tent.
The spectator hospitality and
home, I call it the Welcome Center and Home for Wayward Spectators.
love it.
Nice.
Yes.
I
And
wish I could be there.
We might be getting a sponsor to give us some more tents and stuff. But
Summit Racing?
no. But if anyone is interested in coming to Bonneville, you are invited. This is what I talked to so many people who are like, oh, I've always wanted to go. Well, you've probably been waiting for an invitation from somebody you know, because it's awkward to go when you don't know anything about what's going on, who's going to be there, where do you go, what do you do, what do you need, what do you bring? Well, this is your invitation. We will be there to host. You just go online or show up at the boat ramp and buy your spectator pass, and they will tell you where to go. And once you get there, we'll be there to greet everyone, to explain how things work, to walk them around, to show things, to interview people, and give them all the information they need. It's a pretty cool thing.
What a service to the community.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yes. So I hope you come, Scottie, and I hope you race something.
Oh, if I'm there, I have to find something to race.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can go to Bonneville Motorcycle Speed Trials to find that out. Oh, I have a link on our website at motorcyclesandmisfits.com. When you go to a list of where we're going to be, you'll see that on the list with a link there. And while you're there, buy a t-shirt. Yeah. And also send us an email. So we got a few emails from people responding to our Fight Me. There was one email from somebody who was very upset about our American attitude of American exceptionalism. I apologize. It didn't mean to come across that way. We were inviting people to respond and share with us their opinions. We weren't meaning to tell everyone we're the best, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a troll.
It was a troll. So send us your emails.
Was this in reference to California roads being the best to ride on, or
among other things?
Or the one show is the best motorcycle show in the world, or any of those? I know that there's a lot of places in the world that aren't fond of Americans right now, and
I did stick up for wheels in Cornwall, so
there you go.
Yeah.
But send us your email. You know what? Tell us if we're assholes too. That's all right. Send it to motorcyclesandmisfits at gmail.com, and you'll find the links to everything you need at our website. But big thanks to Michael for coming on. He has so much knowledge about stuff.
Such a deep wealth of experience.
How it works. I mean, I could literally just talk for hours with him.
Yeah.
So really cool. And I love that we got the scoop on Damon, that they're not just,
they're
scammers.
not a scam, they're a dream.
Yeah. And that's why, again, my comparison to the Trump phone, I think they had an idea and we should be able to do this.
Liza,
and it might have been
a scam.
I don't know, Bagel. I don't know.
I've worked at about half a dozen startups. And I had an old friend of mine. He lives in Taiwan now, but he was kind of my mentor for going on 40 years. He said to me, Neal, I want to tell you something about running a company. Bullshit is worth money.
There you go.
And so his point being is sometimes you need to spin a story for investors to get them juiced up on the things, but what you actually deliver may fall short of that, because you're constrained by budgets and timelines. And he mentioned the keyword runway. When does your funding run out, right? You have to hurry up and get something out. And if you have leaders that don't hew to that goal, sometimes you may have a great thing, but you just run out of money.
Look, and we saw the same thing with the Scottie helmet. There's been a lot of tech with big ideas and promises that weren't delivered. So I'm just saying it was great to get kind of more of an explanation from the inside of what was actually going on. I think we're ready to get out of here. Thank you, everyone, especially Patreon subscribers. We love you. If you would like to support us, again, go to our website, and there's a tab for Give Me Your Money. I just call it what it is. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Time to get out of here. This is Liza.
This is Neal.
Scottie.
Bagel.
And we are out of here.
Cool.